At our family reunion, a gathering of over 70 people, everyone showed up wearing custom hoodies with their names stitched neatly on the front. Everyone but me. What I got was a paper plate. No joke. Scrawled across it in thick black marker were the words, "Since you decided not to fund the $12,000 for your sister's Paris photo shoot, kindly return every family gift given to you since 2010. Mom stood by that. She told me, without flinching, that family means sacrifice. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I simply shared one file they were sure had vanished for good. It hadn't. Then I left a cardboard box on their porch. The label on it? Just one word: returned. Back at that reunion, where every cousin and second cousin was proudly sporting their personalized hoodie, I got handed something else. My cousin Nathan walked over grinning, holding it out to me like it was a joke he couldn't wait to see land. "Except you," he said. What he gave me wasn't soft cotton or embroidery. It was a paper plate. And right there on it, in bold marker, was the message: "Since you chose not to fund your sister's $12,000 Paris shoot, return all family gifts since 2010. The moment was loud in every way but sound. It felt like silence slammed down all around me. The vineyard patio buzzed with laughter, forks clinking against plates, people lining up for selfies. Kids zipped through the tables, their little green hoodies flapping like team flags. And me? I stood just outside the circle, clutching that plate like it was some kind of public punishment. No hello. No one asked if I wanted a drink. No name tag. No hoodie. Just judgment, served cold on a 10-inch plate. Then Mom showed up, almost like she drifted out of thin air. Perfect lipstick, wine glass in hand. Her voice was sweet on the surface, but the edges were sharp. "Family means sacrifice," she said, not even glancing at me. "Oh really?" I asked, still staring at the words on the plate. Because I clearly remember the down payment I gave Uncle Ron. And the rent I paid for Becca when she was 2 months behind. Not to mention the dental bills I covered for Grandma, the ones everyone else pretended they didn't see. Mom just took a slow sip from her glass and said, "You've always kept track. That's your issue. Real generosity doesn't ask for anything in return." "That doesn't feel like generosity," I told her. "That feels like pressure wrapped in guilt." She smiled at me like I was a child who'd said something foolish and patted my arm. "Let's not ruin the day." Ruin the day? The last time this many family members were in the same place was at Grandpa's funeral. Half these people had personally thanked me for covering part of his hospice care. But not a single one would meet my eyes. But they sure clapped for my sister. Madison, the family favorite. The precious one. Her dream? Apparently, a Parisian fairy tale priced at $12,000 that I was expected to fund like I was some kind of fairy godbrother. And all I did was say no. She strolled past in an emerald green hoodie with Maddie stitched in fancy gold script. Didn't stop. Didn't greet me. Just giggled at something her boyfriend muttered. He gave me a look over his shoulder, smug, amused. They thought they'd covered their tracks. Hid the manipulation, the fabrications, the shady transfers, the receipts. They thought the file had been wiped. It hadn't. I didn't cause a scene. Didn't say a word. Just slipped my hand into my coat pocket, running my fingers along the cold edge of the USB drive. I stayed for exactly 17 minutes. Long enough for people to see what I was holding. Long enough to let the shame settle inside me, thick and unmoving. Then I turned around, walked to my car, and left. Later that night, while they all slept off their wine and their Instagram-worthy memories, I made one last delivery. A box. Dropped right on my parents' front steps. Across the top, written in bold red marker, "Returned." Inside? Every single gift I'd ever received from them. Birthday presents. Holiday sweaters. Awkward family photo frames. And a printed copy of that file they tried so hard to erase. They crossed a line. I just responded in my own way. You want to know how it all spiraled into this? How a simple reunion turned into a message scribbled on a paper plate. Let me walk you back to the beginning. Back to when I still believed loyalty meant something. I'm the oldest. The one who's supposed to have it together. The responsible one. The fixer. Ever since I graduated college and landed a solid job in financial consulting, My family saw me as their personal emergency fund. It started small. Can you help your cousin with her student loans? Grandma's furnace just broke. No one else has the money. Mom and Dad are behind on the mortgage again. And every single time I said yes. I wasn't wealthy, but I was careful. I budgeted. I planned. I gave when I could. And for a long time, they loved me for it. Until the day I said no. That day came last year, when Madison brought up her big break. She'd found this Paris photographer, someone who supposedly specialized in luxury photo shoots for rising influencers. The total cost? 12 grand. 1 week in Paris. Flights, wardrobe, hotel, makeup, editing, the works. She even made a slideshow. I wish I were kidding. A whole deck in Google Slides. Each page filled with over-the-top quotes like, "Legacy begins with visuals," and "Images equal influence." Her request was clear. I cover it all. No strings. No interest. No payback. Just vibes. And that's when I finally said it. For the first time in 15 years, I said no. I told them, I've already carried more than my share. If Madison wants Paris, she can start saving like everyone else or launch a fundraiser. That single no turned me into the bad guy overnight. That very night, Mom sent me a text, "After everything we've done for you?" I replied, "What exactly are you talking about? Like when you gave birth to me?" 2 days later, Dad called. His words still echo in my head, "You're getting cold." Not ungrateful. Not selfish. Unfamily. Like I'd broken some unspoken family code by refusing to bankroll my sister's pricey vanity trip. Here's the real deal. It wasn't just about Paris. That was simply the last straw after years of exhaustion from giving and giving with nothing in return. Back in 2014, I co-signed a car loan for Madison. The next year, 2015, I helped refinance the family house to keep them from losing it, yes, on my credit. In 2016, I covered Dad's back surgery deductible when insurance fell short. 2017, I paid for Madison's second try at completing her social media management course. She never even finished it. In 2018, I backed a business idea Uncle pitched, which tanked in less than 4 months. 2019, I got slapped with an IRS penalty because someone in the family handed my info to a shady tax preparer. In 2020, during the pandemic, I paid rent for 3 households while struggling to hold on to my own job. Not once did I get a thank you that sounded genuine. Most of the time, it felt like I was just getting a receipt for what I'd done. By 2023, I'd put over $58,000 into my family over 10 years. And still, the requests kept coming. The expectations never stopped. Like my wallet was a public piggy bank, and I was the only one clueless enough to think the ground beneath wasn't already crumbling. After I said no to Madison's Paris dream, I started noticing changes. Group chats went dead silent the moment I joined. Mom started forwarding family news only to Maddie, leaving me out. When I showed up for Thanksgiving, there wasn't even a seat saved for me at the main table. I ended up stuck next to the coat rack. Still, I tried to keep the peace. I offered to help pay for therapy or coaching if Maddie needed some direction. Her answer? A sharp, ugh. What I really want is for my family to believe in my career. Want to hear the kicker? The very same week they cut me out over $12,000, an old college buddy tipped me off about a TikTok Madison posted. She said, "My family's rich but toxic. They'd rather gatekeep money than support a woman's dreams." The video had 137,000 views. I watched it 3 times. She painted me as the greedy brother, clutching cash instead of helping his sister shine. No mention of the years I'd bailed her out. No truth. Just a desperate chase for attention. I saved the video. Downloaded it. Along with screenshots of every payment I'd ever sent. Every invoice. Every PayPal note. Every desperate, "Can you spot me just for this month?" text. I backed it all up twice. Once on the cloud, once on an encrypted USB drive. And then I waited. Because I know this family. I knew they wouldn't just stay silent. They'd go public. They'd weaponize shame. The hoodie stunt at the reunion? That was new. Petty. Calculated. But when I saw that paper plate, I smiled. Not because I was happy. Because I understood. They thought they could erase me. But they forgot who paid for the printer. The day after the reunion, I went to work like nothing was wrong. Smiled at my coworkers. Replied to emails. Crunched the numbers. But inside, something quietly broke. Like a bone fractured for years finally snapping under the weight of one paper plate. That night, I started printing. Every bank statement. Venmo screenshot. PayPal receipt. A spreadsheet listing every loan I'd ever made to them. Dates. Amounts. Reasons. I even highlighted the ones they promised to repay, and never did. The file they thought I'd deleted? Still there. Only bigger now. I added Madison's TikTok. Her fake tears. Her lies. The part where she stared into the camera and said, "Some people's love is conditional on control." Really? Then let's remove the condition. Let's remove me. That weekend, I did something no one in our family had ever done. I set boundaries. I didn't call. Didn't text. I emailed. Because if there's one thing 10 years of being the family's emergency fund taught me, it's that paper trails matter. Subject line. Regarding recent events. Pile. After thinking over everything that's happened, I've decided to formally step back from any further financial support of the family. Attached is a detailed list of every dollar I've contributed since 2010, totaling $58,634.87. I'm not asking for repayment, just acknowledgement. From here on, please don't ask me for money, cosigns, credit help, or financial advice. This isn't punishment. It's a boundary. If family means sacrifice, I've already made mine. I attached the file. Then I blind copied every relative on the list. They didn't respond right away. But when they did, well, they didn't take it well. Mom was first. "You sent that file to everyone? Even Aunt Carol?" "Yes," I replied. "Especially Aunt Carol. She paid for Maddie's prom dress. She deserved to see the full picture." Then Madison called me. I let the phone ring 4 times before I finally picked up. "Are you serious right now?" Madison snapped as soon as I answered. "You humiliated me." I didn't back down. "No, you humiliated yourself, turning our family's history into a lie just for likes. Why couldn't you handle this privately?" I asked. "Did you really have to drag it all out in public?" I reminded her, "You made this public first. TikTok, the Paris pitch deck, the plate at the reunion." There was silence on the line. Just heavy breathing. Then she whispered, voice cracking, "I was trying to build something. I needed this." I said, "You had 10 years and $58,000 of rope. You could have stopped any time." And then I hung up. The real storm hit 2 days later, a full-blown family intervention. They showed up at my apartment. Mom, Dad, Madison, even Uncle Ron, whose failed business I'd bailed out with $6,500. I should have seen it coming, but I wasn't ready for how quickly they twisted the story. "You've always kept receipts," Dad said bitterly, sounding like an accountant. "Because none of you did," I replied calmly. "Someone had to keep the numbers straight." Mom wiped away a tear. "You're tearing this family apart." "No," I said, "you did that the moment you decided my love was worth less than my money." Ron crossed his arms. "You think this makes you a hero?" "No," I said, locking eyes with each of them, "but it makes me free." Madison lost it. "I can't believe you're doing this over a stupid hoodie." "This isn't about a hoodie," I said. "It's about years of pretending I didn't matter unless I was writing a check." Dad muttered, "You're being dramatic." I walked past him into the hallway and pulled the box from my coat closet. I dropped it right at their feet. Inside was 10 years of family memories. Birthday cards, holiday sweaters, photo albums. Every gift, every letter, every forced reminder that I belonged. Taped to the inside of the lid was a printout of that paper plate. "You want it back?" I asked. "Here it is. All returned. With interest." They said nothing. I shut the door, locked it tight. Let them yell. Let them knock. I didn't open it again. 3 hours later, they were gone. That night, I slept like I'd finally dropped a huge weight. You'd think after all that, the plate, the file, the box marked returned, they'd get it. They didn't. Not right away. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages, voicemails, missed calls. Facebook posts dripping with so much passive aggression you could frost a cake with it. Family is about forgiveness, one read. Don't let pride destroy what love built. Another, posted by Aunt Melanie, the same one who once borrowed $1,200 from me for car repairs but spent it on a Cancun girls trip instead. They weren't mad I drew a line. They were mad I drew it in ink. But I stayed quiet. Didn't argue. Let them stew in their stories while I got back to living. The silence that followed? The best gift I've ever given myself. For the first time in years, no late-night emergency calls. No texts begging for rent money. No unannounced visits with sob stories and vague PayPal links. And you know what filled that space? I started going back to the gym. Not for revenge. Not for show. Just for me. I cooked. I slept. I binged bad TV without guilt. I even booked a solo trip to Ireland, something I'd dreamed about for years but always pushed aside because, what if Madison needs help with rent again? I was free. 3 weeks into my self-imposed exile, things began to shift. A message from my cousin Eric popped up. Hey, just saw everything. Wanted to say, I get it. We all saw what they did. No one said a thing, but we knew. Respect, man. Then another from Aunt Nora. I'm sorry for how you were treated. I didn't know the full story. Thanks for the file. Turns out that file did more than expose finances. It exposed the rot. People started remembering things. Like Dad telling them I was too proud to ask for help, while secretly texting me to pay his taxes. Or Madison bragging about getting a free MacBook, without ever mentioning I bought it for her. The pedestal cracked. Then crumbled. A week later, Madison posted a new TikTok. She looked tired, puffy-eyed. The lighting was off, no ring light this time. I just want to clear the air, she said. People are attacking my family over private matters. Yes, I asked my brother for help. Yes, I expected him to support me. But family dynamics are complicated. He didn't have to expose me like that. Translation? She wasn't sorry. Just embarrassed. The comments shredded her. Girl, you exploited your own brother for a photo shoot? One read. You didn't need Paris. You needed a job. He paid for grandma's teeth, and you gave him a paper plate? She took the video down within 2 days. From what I hear, the influencer dream fizzled. Sponsors jumped ship. The Paris photographer pulled out of Madison's shoot, saying their values didn't match. Madison then made all her social media accounts private. Meanwhile, Mom tried to reach me. I ignored her call. She followed up with a text saying, I didn't handle things well. Neither did your father. We miss you. Can we talk? I waited 2 full days before replying. I told her straight, I don't want apologies, I want real change. If I'm going to be part of this family again, it has to come with respect. No expectations, no financial demands, just honesty. She didn't respond immediately, but she didn't block me either. I took that as a small victory. The biggest surprise came from Dad. A few days ago, I found a letter in the mail, handwritten like it was from decades ago. Inside was a photo of me as a 12-year-old, smiling proudly with a science fair ribbon. Along with the photo was a single sentence, written in Dad's neat handwriting. I didn't see you then. I see you now. I didn't cry, but I felt a knot in my chest loosen, a knot I'd forgotten existed because it had been there so long. They're not healed. Neither am I. But I'm no longer broken, and that's enough for me. They probably expected me to come back someday. Not immediately, but eventually, the same old cycle. Tension, guilt, manipulation, silence. Then me extending the olive branch. Me calling. Me forgiving. Me paying. Not this time. This time, they misjudged what it means to truly cut someone off. Not out of anger, but out of clarity. And clarity is permanent. The first month after walking away was strange, too quiet. No passive-aggressive texts. No surprise visits. Just silence. At first, I waited for the other shoe to drop, expecting a call from a cousin or a guilt trip from Mom, but nothing came. In that silence, I finally started to breathe like a normal person again. Then the second month hit with a new storm. Madison's influencer career began to unravel publicly. Some sharp Reddit users connected the dots between her TikToks and the financial records I released. A detailed thread titled, "This empowerment influencer let her brother pay for her life while she lied for clout," went viral, gathering over 60,000 upvotes in a single day. She went viral, just not the way she wanted. Sponsors pulled their deals, and she posted a statement on Instagram trying to explain herself, but it only made things worse. "I never lied," she said. "I just didn't give the full context." The comments tore her apart. "Your brother paid your way for 10 years, and you gave him a paper plate? This isn't a boundary, it's a bailout scam. Where's the hoodie fund, Maddie?" Just like that, her dream collapsed. I didn't feel happy about her downfall, just relieved. At last, truth had balanced the scales. Not because of me, but because it couldn't be hidden anymore. One night, around 1 a.m., I got an email from Madison. No subject line. Said, "I don't expect forgiveness, but I finally understand. That file was your only voice, and none of us listened. I'm sorry." I stared at that email a long time. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I was calm. I didn't reply, because her apology wasn't for me. It was for herself. And that's okay. That's healing. But my healing was already underway. By month 3, the family's dynamics had changed. Messages started arriving from people I didn't expect to hear from anymore. Cousin Taylor, the one who used to laugh at Maddie's jokes, wrote, "You were always the glue man. We just never saw how much pressure we put on you." Uncle Rick, who I hadn't talked to in 5 years, said, "Your dad never let me help. Always said he had it handled. I'm sorry I stood by." Even Aunt Carol, whose backyard I once rebuilt after a storm, sent me a $500 check. The memo simply read, "For 10 years too late." I didn't cash the check. I framed it. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the shift. They weren't just seeing me anymore. They were seeing what they'd lost without me. By the 4th month, my life had completely changed. I moved into a new apartment. Nothing fancy, but with west-facing windows that caught the kind of light that makes your morning coffee taste better. I picked up photography, bought a used DSLR, and started capturing shadows, alleys, rust, and flowers. The quiet beauty that doesn't demand attention but changes you when you notice it. I began journaling, not because I had to, but because after years of managing everyone else's crises, I wanted to remember what it was like to live without always being needed. Freedom was loud in the best way. No more waking up dreading a text saying, "Can you help?" No more reshuffling bills to cover someone else's dream. No more measuring the emotional cost of every dollar I gave away. I finally spent money on myself, on therapy, travel, hobbies, and peace. One morning, I booked a flight to Iceland. No one knew. No one asked questions. I just went. And in that vast silence, glaciers, black sand beaches, breathtaking quiet, I remembered what it felt like to just be a person. Not a provider. Not a fixer. Not the family's backbone. Just a man. Then, exactly 6 months after the reunion, the final change came. I was out running errands when I got home to find a small box sitting on my doorstep. No return address. Carefully taped shut. My name written in clear block letters. Inside was a forest green hoodie, the exact kind they'd given out at the reunion. But this one had something stitched on the front, "The one who said no." On the back, in bold white cursive letters, "Finally free." There was no note. No explanation. Just fabric. A symbol. A quiet olive branch, maybe. Or a tribute. Either way, I smiled. For the first time in months, I laughed, loud, stupid, full-bodied laughter. The kind that bursts out when your soul realizes it's no longer chained. Then I put the hoodie on. It fit perfectly. Want to know what closure looks like? It's not forgiveness. It's freedom. It's knowing you were never the villain. Just the one who finally stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a towel. It's watching the people who confuse support with obligation finally sit with their own reflection and ask, "What did we lose when he walked away?" And maybe, just maybe, it's knowing that somewhere out there, someone heard your story and whispered, "Me too." So if you're carrying the weight of 1,000 paper plates and guilt-wrapped demands, let it go. You're not selfish for setting boundaries. You're not heartless for saying no. You're not wrong for walking away. Because love should never come with an invoice. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is pack a box, marked returned in thick red marker, and leave it on the doorstep you'll never knock on again.